welcome. We've been stuck at our desk for ages, sitting still, staring at the screen for ages, maybe typing and using the mouse. That's the only bits that have been moving. We need to get our body moving a little bit, so let's do a few stretches. So plant the feet. We're going to lengthen our spine a bit. Inhale, shoulders up to the ears. And exhale, they can sink down. Spine's tall, shoulders are soft. And take a breath. Let's start with a couple of energizing breaths. So with our hands on our center, as we inhale, we expand the chest, open the arms. Exhale, we sink back in. Couple more of those, filling the lungs with fresh air. If we do this outside, so much the better. Exhale, soften everything back down. One more of those. Inhale, expand. And exhale, relax. Soften the shoulders. Let's get the feet moving a little bit. Take one foot for a walk and then the other. And we'll ease our shoulders a little bit too. So, we're going to do a very minimalist warrior one position, which is taking a small step back and lifting through the front of the body. So that's going to open the hip. A little bit of a bend in our front knee. It's going to stretch through the front of the hip and the back of the leg. We can raise our arms if we feel comfortable to do so, or they can just be still at our sides. Lengthening the crown of the head away from that back foot for a couple of breaths. And softening back down. Let's do the other side. So, hips are facing the front, just taking a little step back, front knees bent. We're going to push out with the other hip now. Expand the chest. Shoulders are soft away from the ears. Chest is expanded. Couple of breaths here. And release and soften. So, what about a standing cat stretch? Again, if we're in the office, we don't want to look too weird, but we can still use the whole body. So we can round a little bit, bend the knees. Inhale. Expand the front of the body, shoulders go back and down. Exhale, round. Inhale, open the front. And exhale, sink back down. One more of those. Release the shoulders again. So, stretch out the front of the thighs. So you can always use the back of a chair or a wall for balance if you wish. We're going to find an ankle. Don't let your knee stick out to the side too much as you find your ankle. And then we're going to stretch out the front of that thigh. So we're letting the knee, the whole leg fall away from the hip. And taking a couple of breaths there as the whole of that side of the body lengthens. The thigh, the hip, the waist and the chest. A couple of breaths there. And we'll let it go. Other side, plant the standing foot, finding your ankle. And that side of the body, front side of the body, gets a big stretch all the way from your shoulder down through your hip to your knee. Couple of breaths here. and letting it go. Little shake. Let's open the front of the body a bit further. So, clasping our hands behind our back, we're going to lengthen the hands towards the floor and squeeze our shoulder blades together. Let's take a couple of breaths. Let it go. Okay. If we want, we can do a bit of a tree pose. So that might be just turning the knee in and out, if there's people watching us. If there is, and we really don't mind, we've got a bit more privacy, we can try a proper tree pose. So we've got a standing leg. We're balancing our foot somewhere against that standing leg, not against our knee. Don't want to push on our knee. And taking a couple of breaths there, feeling tall through the standing side of the body. Let it out. Other side. Could just be rocking that knee in and out. You can do these while you're on a meeting if nobody's looking. And if we're okay, clunk. You can do a tree pose the other side, lengthening for a couple of breaths, nice and tall. Bring up those arms if we feel able. Okay. Shake out the legs. Our hands have been working on the keyboard or the mouse, so let's ease the wrists out. Rotating the wrists. Make fists and spread out the fingers. Shake. We can interlock the fingers. Push them away from us to get the stretch on the inside of the wrists. Let them go. Mountain pose. So we're planting our feet maybe slightly wider than our hips. Soft knees, but our spine is tall. And our arms are just hanging. Shoulders soft. We're going to focus our eyes on something that's a long way away. Something that isn't screen length away from us. And then we're going to focus on something that's near us. Take our focus to something a long way away. And something that's near us again. Without moving our head, let's take our gaze up to the 12 o'clock position, straight up. And then we're going to take our eyes around the clock and keep our face still and our expression soft. No grimacing. So, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4, eyes going round, no straining, just as far as comfortable. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10, 11, up to the top. Let's let the eyes rest for a moment. A restful breath. We're going to go back round the other way. So 12 o'clock, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back up to the top. Let's rest our eyes again. Taking a restful breath. So we've stretched our body out. See what's going on in our mind. Let's take 3 long, smooth breaths. Take our attention inwards. Notice how our body feels. what's going on in our mind right now. Maybe there's an urge to get back to work. We've got to be doing these things. And maybe there's an urge not to get back to work. Whatever we find, let's look upon ourselves with kindness, observing whatever we find in our mind with kindness. And deciding how we wish to respond. So if we want to go back to work, that's great. We can decide after a slow breath what we're going to start on next. And maybe actually we're quite tired and we don't want to work that hard for the next bit. Well then, let's respect our decision and act accordingly. If we want to work hard and get something done, great. If we need to work at a slower pace and look after ourselves, good. Before we return, taking a couple more breaths. And addressing our work with an attitude of, I'm doing my best for my work, for my tasks, and for myself. There need not be compromise. This work need not be done with my blood, sweat and tears, unless I want to, for a little while. If I'm healthier and stronger, I produce better quality and more work. One more breath.